Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to our channel again. Rich and Dave tonight doing a little session, just having a chat about poltergeists. Okay?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, what are poltergeists? Everybody probably knows what they think poltergeists are and what they do. I'll just do a little introduction to what I think poltergeists are. So, the dictionary definition, if you like, is a noisy ghost. So it comes from the German word. Became quite popular in the 1800s, I think it was, when spiritualism really started to take off, and you're starting to see lots of poltergeist activity back then. Whether that was all real or whether some of that was faked by some of the fake spiritualists that were out there at the time. We've all seen cases of that where people try and do a little bit of faking, but I do think there's something in it. Poltergeist is quite a scary term for most people. They probably think of the film Poltergeist, and you know that's quite scary. But I don't necessarily think all poltergeists are evil, nasty things. Quite often, I've experienced noises with and had things with children, and they didn't feel scary. It didn't feel frightening to me. It was a child ghost, I think. Yeah. But they were certainly noisy. Did it make some noises?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, like you said, poltergeist. It means like a noisy ghost with possibly like psychokinetic kind of.
Yeah.
Which comes with psychokinetic kind of phenomenon.
Yeah.
Rather than the normal bottom standard hauntings you get from ghosts.
Yeah.
Like that.
I think the key difference with a poltergeist, it tends to be attached to a person.
Yeah, which is going to be a very, very interesting talking point later on, because I've got to think, knowing I'm going to be completely neutral throughout the whole of this podcast today.
Okay. That's going to be difficult for you.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's going to be really, really tough, actually, to be fair. If anything, this is going to be quite a difficult kind of podcast, tonight, to be fair, because I've got a lot of notes and I've done a lot of research, refreshing myself and all that kind of stuff. So, there's all sorts that can be spoken about with how poltergeist. But poltergeist name, apparently it's the Polten.
Yeah.
Means crash in German.
Okay.
And Geist or Geist means spirit or ghost.
Yeah.
So that's where the
name
comes from.
Cool.
Yeah. Definitive meaning is noisy ghost.
Yeah.
Apparently. So, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Doing my research on them.
Again, I think probably people are more, from all the ghost things that you can talk about, most people, because they've probably seen that film, the Poltergeist 1, Poltergeist 2, Poltergeist 3, I think is out there. The Enfield Poltergeist, all of that sort of stuff really, really has made people really frightened of it. But I think it's not always that scary. I mean, from my experience, I've heard lots of things where I've experienced something moving something in another room. That would be a poltergeist.
Exactly. I mean,
they made a noise. That would be a poltergeist.
Yeah, I mean, like the classic kind of things to do with poltergeist, obviously, is knocking on the wall.
Yeah.
Objects being thrown or moved by unseen hands, furniture moving. And plenty of other occurrences. And I think a lot of research, for a long time, they just thought it was like these mischievous kind of pranks by ghosts and all that kind of stuff. And more frightening is the more malevolent side of it that could be caused by potential demons.
Yeah.
As well, through research.
So do you think there's a difference between a demon and a ghost?
I think that this is an interesting question straight away. See, I've seen demons. I mean, I haven't had a huge or any kind of real experience with demons anyway. From what I've done a lot of reading on, apart from the possession side of it, the attachment side of it, and it's supposed to be quite mischievous as well. Play mind games, so to speak, in a certain way. And then you've got poltergeist that just move stuff. It just
So quite often when we're doing an investigation, we'll ask for if there's anyone there to move something, to knock, to make a noise.
Yeah.
So effectively, would they be poltergeists if they're doing that, or are they just spirits?
There is a difference between poltergeists and just hauntings, though, isn't there?
So the key thing, I guess, is like we were saying earlier. The poltergeist tends to attach itself to a person.
Yeah.
Quite often a young child as well, or I'd say a young child. Quite often a teenage child.
Yeah, entering into puberty.
Yeah.
Reason. Yeah. It's
all those raging hormones. That's bound to cause spirits.
Which is going to be an interesting talking point later on, especially because I'm going to bring up the Enfield hauntings.
Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah.
And there's obviously always two sides to a story, but there's an interesting little theory that I want to try and pass with you.
Yeah.
And see what you think about it.
Okay.
Later on in the podcast. But yeah, it's
See,
an interesting one.
I think demons and poltergeists are two completely different things.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think, not to go all biblical on you, but demons and things like that are basically, in my opinion, like fallen angels, that type of thing. They were, and obviously this means you've got to have a bit of a belief in God for demons to be real, I suppose. But yeah, demons to me always signifies it's something that's quite evil. Whereas a poltergeist, I think that it doesn't have to be so evil. It's just making a noise. It's just the remnants of a person or something that was here, but it's somehow attached itself to a person in a point. And what I wonder why it's always, or quite often, why it's youngish children. I mean, teenagers more so. I wonder why that would be. Why it's got to be that.
And then there's a bit of research they did, newer research. I was reading about this prior to doing this this podcast, which suggests, and I'm not saying that this is actually what happened or exactly what's happening, but the research apparently that they did indicated that poltergeist activity may not have anything to do with ghosts and spirits.
Okay.
Alright.
So what are they saying it is then?
So basically what I'm trying to say is, it's like what you just said, it is centred around a certain individual. Mainly a teenager.
Yeah.
Entering into puberty. Or a teenager that is under some sort of emotional or physical stress.
Yeah.
And subconsciously, the mind of that individual can create some sort of psychokinetic kind of energy subconsciously in their brain.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, like this is just a study that I read and the research that I've read in the last few days, where this individual's got the power to be able to move stuff and make things happen.
So have you ever tried to do that yourself?
No, I haven't.
I have.
But a lot of these, that's interesting. But the research said says that the individual doesn't necessarily know
that they're doing
that they're doing it. It's this very, very deep subconscious thing, and they are under an extreme amount of stress. Yeah. Or some sort of physical stress, which subconsciously makes them do it. I mean, that's a newer research they did. Yeah. But it was only indicating that maybe. Yeah. This is this is happening. Yeah. I mean, there's two sides, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, for me, demons is a whole different bag.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think demons are possibly lurking around. They can overhear conversations. They understand. They've possibly been around for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. So they know all your history. They know everything that's happened to you. It's easy for them to fake that they're, something like your dead granddad or your dead auntie or whatever, because they were around when that person was alive, and they were there, and they saw information or heard information that you think, well, only my that person could have had that info.
Yeah.
But if you believe in demons and things like that, it would be easy for them to get that information, and then they're using it to convince you that, you know, these things are real, and maybe to cause mischief as they go along.
Yeah.
So difficult to differentiate between the two.
It's a very fine line.
Yeah,
very
very
it's
difficult
extremely
to
fine
differentiate.
line when it comes to this.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thinking point, because I've been thinking about this for the last 3 or 4 days, and I've done this research, and it did kind of that newer research that they were talking about. And I was thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, especially when I was at work, because I had a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
When I'm grass cutting, I've got a lot of time to think. I'm like going, it kind of makes sense, but there's still that part of me that thinks, no, it's some sort of spirit or ghost.
So, the mediums years ago, when, you know, back in the 1800s, early 1900s, when that was a really big thing, they would fake a lot of things. They would, and it's, you know, a noisy ghost is a really easy thing to fake.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is.
You only need someone hiding somewhere, knocking on a wall. You know, bits of, you know, very thin fishing wire and things like that to move objects across a room and things like that. And I know it gained its popularity around that period. That was when they really started to get popular. And maybe that was a lot to do with that. But then I've watched a few interviews with people who have experienced a poltergeist, really experienced quite a scary poltergeist. I'm not saying nasty, because I'm not sure it is nasty, but it frightened the people. Whether it wanted to frighten them, I don't know, but it certainly frightened people. And that in itself is a a whole different experience than someone in a little dark room just, you know, doing silly little things to frighten people. When you're on your own and it's just you and whatever that is, you're sort of 100% certain this is not something's not right here. I'm being fucked with, basically.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree, and I want to be fair. I mean, the amount of investigations I've been in, and I've gone off by myself.
Yeah.
And you're just there, and you just know there's somebody there. It almost feels like you're being toyed with, because, like I said in the last one of the first podcast we did, I know when something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's kind of. The best way I can describe it is like there was one investigation. I did a lone investigation. Not hardly anything that happened. But it felt like somebody was just walking around, just watching me. Just wanted to watch. Just moving around. No activity happened, but I know what I felt in there.
Yeah.
I know there was something in there. Poltergeist, it was supposed to be a poltergeist in that building. Was it? No. Not in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
But it just felt. I don't know how to try and put it in a way. It was like a game was being played.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to just hang around there and just taunt you, make you feel a little bit on edge.
See, that's the thing I've told you before when I lived in the little cottage over at Burbage.
Yeah.
We had several experiences there. I think I've already documented a couple of those, but there was another one that I haven't talked to you about before, where we went out one evening down to the pub, and it was quite a stormy evening, around about October time, you know. We went out, it was on a Saturday, we went out sort of Saturday tea time-ish, so it was still light outside just about. And when we came back to the house, every single window had been opened, and these are the old-fashioned windows, so they're like the ones where you lift them up. You know, God, I can't think of the name of them. I can't believe I can't think of the name of them, but the sash windows. So you literally lift them up. They're held together on 2 cords, and you lift them up. You can't open those windows by accident. You can't get those windows to.
No.
You know, and when we came back, there was a massive wind blowing, and like a little storm was starting to brew. And it was quite eerie coming back down the road, you know, seeing all the curtains in your house billowing out of these windows and thinking, I didn't leave all the windows open.
Because that's even more interesting because, like you said, those sash windows, the wind would not open those.
No way.
Like the window where I've got in my house, where it's on a latch and on like hinges.
Yeah.
I can quite believe that. Yeah, wind, especially because it howls through the house.
Yeah.
Probably open up a window.
But like you say, one window maybe I could sort of think okay, but every window, all the windows, and the weird thing was, right, I didn't feel threatened or frightened by it because it felt like a prank.
Yeah.
It just felt like it was a big prank. Someone or something had thought this will be funny when they come back. Oh, all the windows in the house open, you know. And that's why I've always believed it was just a child there, just a child spirit that's having a bit of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much in one of like the signs that you've got a poltergeist that I was reading. It's like just practical jokes, pranks, things going missing.
And I told you, didn't I, when we moved house, even when we moved house to here, I still think something followed us and was here for a while.
Yeah, because it's like your keys basically.
Yeah.
Which is which because it followed you, and it was maybe attached to you and then left.
Yeah.
That doesn't really make sense.
The weird thing for me, I never ever felt threatened or worried by it. It never frightened me.
Just a bit mischievous.
Mischief.
Which is one of the.
Yeah. Perhaps I was lucky. Perhaps there are a lot nastier ones out there. Not encountered one myself, and I don't really want to.
Okay, when we went to Fort Woodley, one of the ghost stories from there apparently was supposed to be this evil. It was claimed to be a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Who was this grumpy old sergeant.
Right.
And all that. I mean, in my head, I'm like going, I get it could be like a grumpy old sergeant, but what's the evil? What would?
Yeah. Probably no more evil in death than he was in life.
Exactly. I mean, if he's a grumpy old sergeant, it just means he's grumpy.
Yeah.
If he's part of the army, he's a sergeant. Got a certain amount of authority.
So if I get up in a minute and I throw that cup across the room, it doesn't make me evil, does it?
No, it doesn't. So I don't understand.
It might make me grumpy, might make me mad, might make me angry, but
I never understood why they called it an evil, grumpy sergeant poltergeist. I never really got it.
Well, that's because that's going to attract more interest to people than if you say, there's a ghost of a sergeant. He's all right. He's okay. He's not that. He's a bit grumpy, but he's all right.
Yeah. Well, I get it.
Evil attracts people, doesn't it? People are attracted to scary things.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
They are. That attracts people. If you say you've got a ghost and it's quite friendly, it's not as attractive a prospect to people who want to see a ghost as to go in and be frightened. People love to be frightened. Look at Halloween. Look what happens this time of year. People celebrate that. They want to be frightened. They want to be a little bit scared. They'll pay money to go and be scared in places.
Well, don't get me wrong. I like when we go out on investigation. There is a certain element of me that wants to feel that fear.
Yeah.
Because it makes your senses are a little bit more
acute
and on alert.
Yeah.
There's also the other side. So I actually want to have a really good conversation with the spirit. I want to have a good communication as well.
Well, that's what we're doing this for. We'd love to get proper 100% communication. As yet, we've not really experienced anything we can put our finger on and say, oh yeah, that's definitely a ghost or that's definitely a spirit. We've had a few strange experiences, but who knows what's to come.
I think that might change in North Newton Church.
You never know.
I honestly, I don't know what's in there, but
you don't like it there, do you?
No.
You're going to enjoy going there.
And I don't think whatever's in there likes me.
Yeah.
I really don't. I know what I feel. I know the vibe I got.
I'll just say for people, I do find it funny when Dave gets scared, and he finds it funny when I get scared. So we're not taking the piss out of what we're doing. We're taking the piss out of each other a little bit. When Dave gets scared and starts to say he's got to leave, it does make me chuckle. It doesn't mean I'm a disbeliever. It's just like, I don't know. I just find it funny, and I think when he's seen me running across a graveyard because I thought I'd seen something, he was cracked up. You know, so it's just the way we are.
Yeah.
You know, if anybody thinks we're taking the mickey out of paranormal things, we're not. It's just the way we are.
Exactly it.
So Poltergeists then. What
Yeah.
else have you got down there about them? Anything else you want that you think?
Well,
I mean, they do interfere with electrics, don't they?
yeah, there's all sorts of different phenomena which are tied to poltergeist. There's obviously disappearing object.
Yeah.
Being a key one, like we've already discussed.
Yeah.
Objects levitating or being thrown.
Yeah.
I've never actually had that experience. Maybe in one investigation, but that's another trait of them.
I've not been in a room, but I told you before, I've been down in a room below when something's been thrown across the room.
Electrical interferences.
Yeah.
So lights turning on and off, radios turning on as well as TVs. All the kind of normal bog standard.
Yeah.
But when I say bog standard, I mean just all the kind of things you would attach to like poltergeist activity.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like in here the other week, all the lights went flickery and blue whilst we were doing a bit of filming. I just put it down to the fact that the bulbs are old and needed replacing. I've replaced the bulbs and they've been fine, but you just can't tell, can you?
No.
I mean, who knows? It's
Yeah.
Is there something here listening to us?
I mean, I've been here a few times and
I don't get any vibes here.
I don't get any. There's no vibes here. You know, I could go home in about 5 minutes' time, go there, go and sit at the edge of my bed, and it just feels like somebody's just having a wander around.
Yeah.
It's a completely different vibe here than what I get.
Yeah. No, I've never. Ever since we've moved here, like I say, initially there was a couple of things, but I think it was some of the folders because we've never had any experience here. But then we've done cleansing rituals here several times on this house to make sure that there's nothing nasty around.
No.
And I think that does work and that does help, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So.
But, I mean, other traits to them, apparently is scents and odours.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never experienced that at all, but I have heard you get quite a foul smell. See, I'd associate that with a demon more than a poltergeist.
Yeah, they're not literally just holding this down to just a demon. The research I did mention sulphur. Which is
Again, I
demons.
associate that to demons and that type of thing.
I think what they were more aiming at was with like if you live in a house where nobody smokes and then you start smelling cigarette or cigars.
Yeah.
Also, smells of flowers like lavender, lilac.
Right.
All that are apparently associated to it.
Okay.
Just strange or odours that you wouldn't normally have in your house.
Right.
Basically.
So it's anything that's a bit, what's that smell? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they haven't smelled that.
It's not me. It's not the dog.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly it. And then obviously another one is just like knocks, rapping footsteps, and other noises.
Yeah.
And then the biggest and probably the most worrying one is obviously physical attacks.
Yeah. I mean that's obviously where when people watch horror stories, that's what you see with poltergeist films. You get people being physically attacked by them. I don't know if all that's made up for Hollywood, whether there's anything to be said about that. Obviously, some of the things you see happen in the films, it's heavily embellished. As to what the actual,
yeah. Do you know the one film? Now, do not get me wrong. I love these series of movies.
Yeah.
I really, really do. And the movie, that really bugged me because they stuck such a big Hollywood swing on this, and I get why they did it. I understand why they did it.
Yeah.
And this is the Conjuring series.
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of them.
I've seen all of them, and it's the Conjuring 2, which is to do with the Enfield hauntings.
Yeah.
And they were pretty true to the story right until the end.
Yeah.
And they stuck in the nun, the nun's name in there is Balak.
Yeah.
Balak. And all that, and it kind of really niggled at me that they had to put a demon in at the end of it.
Yeah.
I get why they did it because they were tying the movies together.
Yeah.
But knowing I know that story,
yeah,
and then they stuck that in there. It just kind of really niggles at me a little bit. To be fair.
And this is the reason why you can't really believe, even when they come up and they say this film is based on a true story, very loosely based is what I would say quite often.
Well, believe it or not, The Conjuring 2 is probably, like, for the majority of the movie, apart from the end, to do with Balak and all that. Apparently he's supposed to be the main puppet master of what was going on in that house.
Yeah.
It's actually quite an accurate description of actually what happened in that house.
Yeah.
Over the course of those months.
Yeah.
Because it went on for quite a few months and all that kind of stuff, which I'll start getting into in a minute. But yeah, it's just that Hollywood swing. Okay, so we just come back from having a little break, some tea, biscuits,
scones,
and some
cream.
scones. Oh yeah, they were nice, and all that kind of stuff. And a couple of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Just having a quick chat about the next part of this podcast. So, in this next part, we're gonna talk about one of the most famous poltergeist hauntings in this country, and it is the Enfield hauntings.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much do you know about the
Only
Enfield
a
hauntings?
little bit. So I think it's 284 Green Street, wasn't it, in Enfield? Yep. I think that was where it took place. Really famous one because Conjuring 2 was based on that story. Apart from the end. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm massively knowledgeable about it. I know of it. I know there was a family involved there, and there was that famous picture of the girls so-called levitating off the bed.
Yeah.
I've seen that one. Seen a documentary on it, I think, a long time ago. But you got any info there for me on it?
Well, I've got a bit of info for you, but there is this investigation on this case lasted quite a few months.
Yeah.
So basically what I've done is just condensed it down. I mean, there's a lot more that happened, but like I said, we're trying to make these podcasts a little bit less than an hour.
Yeah.
So I've just basically condensed it down. So the Enfield hauntings, which started on the 30th of August, 1977.
Yeah.
Peggy Hodgson, a divorced 47-year-old mother of 4, went into her child's bedroom to tell them to stop fighting and to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. Never thought anything else of it after that. But then at that point, before she told them to go to sleep, the kids were complaining that the beds wouldn't stop moving. And she just went back to bed and just carried on.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. The next night, she heard shuffling noises on like the lino flooring, all that kind of stuff. Then 4 loud knocks, a chest of drawers slid across the floor.
Right.
So at this moment, you're kind of looking at like a classic poltergeist full of action.
Yeah, it's got all the classic things on it. It's got teenage children. Yeah.
Yep.
Troubled. Obviously, mum's divorced, so that's a bit stressed for the kids going through that.
Which I'm going to bring up.
So different.
Later on.
It's got the classics.
Classics, yeah. And then she tried to push this chest of drawers back, and she just couldn't do it. After that, they then fled to the next door neighbours, who is the Nottinghams, and at 282 Green Street, and then were asked for help from Vic Nottingham, who's a roofer, and his son went to investigate, and they heard knocking all over the house.
Right.
Then the police were called.
Yeah, I remember this bit. Yeah.
And they witnessed a chair slide across the room, and apparently in a report after when the police filed their report of what they went to see, they had no explanation in any way.
No, and that's the interesting thing about that, because a police report is quite good evidence. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying the police can't be fooled, but you would think that if 2 police officers have come to that house and they've witnessed that happen, they're going to have a look and see if there's anything obvious. They're going to see if there's anything tied to a chair that's moving. That would be my first response, would be to get up, look at the chair, see if there's anything that could be making it move. Yeah. If I can't find anything, I'm going to be pretty certain that, I can't explain why that chair's moving.
Yeah. And so from that point onwards, there were other events that actually happened. But it wasn't long after that, and this is where it changes for me, the story a little bit. The media got involved.
Yeah, big time.
It became quite a big story, and it also attracted the attention of Ed and Lorraine Warren, two of the most biggest paranormal investigators ever to have lived.
Yeah.
It attracted their attention.
Mm.
Now,
So they came over from America, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
To study this case, to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite interesting, but I can't help thinking it was just because of the media interference that happened.
See, as soon as the media get involved, I become a little bit sceptical, because I think it's that same old thing. They want a story. They're looking for the story. They've either got to make it a story of debunking it, so they've got to show that it was all fake, it was all rubbish, or they've got to make it so real that it's frightening, and that brings their figures up of. I mean, back then it would have been newspaper viewers more than anything else, I guess.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So that always makes me a little bit sceptical, and the fact that these massively famous ghost hunters get involved in it too, they've sort of got a bit of a reputation. I'm not saying they faked anything. I don't know, but I just think the pressure is put onto people once it gets that deep,
Yeah, I mean,
and wasn't there some speculation that the girls were sort of faking it as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy he was a photographer.
Yeah.
And I think it was the Daily Mail, I think, sent them there. Or I do believe it was Douglas Spence.
You're right.
And a photographer named Graham Morris,
Right.
who was actually interested in the paranormal, and he studied a
Yeah.
lot of paranormal research and all that kind of stuff. And he was very, very intrigued. Apparently, after the first night, or the moment he stepped in there, he knew it wasn't any kind of normal kind of
Yeah.
case.
And didn't he? Am I right in saying, is he the guy who did his wife die or something, and he wanted to be able to find a connection to spirits as well?
Yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah.
Something around those lines. I think I remember that from a documentary about it.
He had quite a big passion for paranormal.
Yeah.
That kind of area of field.
Yeah. So for me again, the skeptic in me says, he's got reason to want to believe it and to want it to be real.
Yeah.
Which you could say is like, okay, well, I'm not saying he faked it, but he's going to grasp any straw he can that's going to make it. He wants to contact his dead wife.
Yeah.
If anything can give him that chance, that opportunity, he's going to sort of take that.
Exactly. I mean, he spent a lot of time with that family over quite a few months.
Yeah.
So you could see his. I mean, if you've seen the documentary, you've seen it. I know I've seen it.
Yeah, I watched it a long time ago.
And he had a lot of passion.
Yeah.
A lot of passion there.
Yeah.
For this, and I think even though they tried to debunk what was going on, and they did speculate that maybe the girls were faking it and all that kind of stuff. It's very much on the fence, because I, in my opinion, I truly believe he actually thought there was something there, but you also have to take into account that maybe the girls were.
Well, yeah.
If you look at the situation that family was in before this started, she's a divorced mum of 47 with 4 kids.
Yeah.
Probably struggling in those times as well.
Yeah.
A certain part of me goes, maybe they started this to maybe generate a bit of media attention, to maybe.
See, I've watched stuff about it later. I think there's been another documentary that they've done not that long ago about what it was all about, and the children are all grown up. The actual children involved are all grown up now, and they seem very sincere. Is all I can say. And they didn't seem. They were saying they hadn't really profited from it. In fact, it had been a nightmare for them.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'll be honest. I'm not saying that when I just said what I just said. I actually truly believe that there was some hauntings there.
Yeah.
From the evidence I've seen, I actually truly believe that there was hauntings there. But there's also that small percentage of me that has to take into account that maybe they were potentially faking it. But yet again, like you just said, that time for them, those course of a few months, was actually a nightmare.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you're going to look into these cases, or, like what we're doing now, and talk about these cases, you've got to look at it from both sides.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Quite far. You have to. In my personal opinion, I believe it was haunted. Honestly, but there's also that percentage.
I wonder what the situation is with the house now. I wonder if there must be still somebody living there. The house is still in existence. I know that. I just wonder if there's anything going on now, because, like we're talking about poltergeists, if maybe the people who live in there now are still getting experiences, it sort of shows that maybe the ghost is attached, or whatever, the spirit is attached to the house rather than the people. But if there's nothing much happening now, maybe that sort of points towards the fact that it's more to do with the people than the property.
Yeah, just going to move on to my next point with this, is supposedly the ghost that was there was a guy called Bill Wilkins.
Right.
Okay, who died at the age of 72. He went blind and had a hemorrhage.
Right.
Fell asleep and died in a chair.
Yeah. I remember something about this now.
And the chair, apparently, that was in that house, if I remember, was the same chair that he died in.
Yeah.
So on and so on and so on, in the downstairs corner. And his son Terry later confirmed that is exactly how he died.
Yeah.
It's exactly how he died.
And am I right in saying, and I think I've read or saw this somewhere, that I'm not sure if it was the woman who lived there or someone else who lived there afterwards. Someone else died in the chair in exactly the same way.
I actually haven't heard of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I think I'm right in saying that. What was the lady's name? Peggy, wasn't it?
Yes, Peggy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying she's passed away now. And I've got a funny feeling that I've read somewhere that she actually died in that same chair. She was sat in that chair and she passed away.
It does ring a bell.
If it wasn't her, it was someone else who lived there. Perhaps we'll have a look at that and give an update to that at some point.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a theory across to you right now.
Okay, I like it when you give me a theory, Dave.
It's just my theory.
Okay.
It's something I've been thinking about over the last day or two.
Had you been drinking?
No.
No, okay.
No, don't drink.
Quite a serious theory, then.
This is a very serious thought. No,
Okay.
it's a theory which I want to run past you.
Right.
So out of the whole of this podcast, we've seen that potentially poltergeists are an entity that can move stuff, make rapid noises and all that kind of stuff, which are all classic signs in this Enfield haunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the flip side of it, where we go back to that maybe poltergeist is attached to an individual.
Yeah.
It might be the work of a certain individual who's under a serious amount of emotional stress or physical stress, right?
Yeah.
Who has potentially got the ability to make things move by herself.
Yeah.
So, what if, the girl, I cannot remember the girl's name myself.
No, nor can I.
What if she tapped into her subconscious and started to make things move, created such an energy, such a strong energy, and charged the house, basically. Mm-hmm. So basically what I'm trying to say, she charged this house with a lot of energy and all that kind of stuff. And the ghost of Bill used this energy to then manifest himself in that house. Okay. And possibly increase the paranormal activity at the same time. Because maybe, just remember, we're going back onto the fact that the situation of that family at that time, they were probably struggling. The kids were growing older, end of puberty, under a bit of emotional stress. Wouldn't say necessarily physical stress, but I would say a lot of emotional stress. Yeah. And maybe subconsciously, this young girl at that time tapped into her subconscious, maybe started making things move and all that kind of stuff, completely charged the house with energy. And then the ghost of Bill kind of
used that energy to manifest.
Or attach,
It's an interesting theory. You've obviously thought about this a lot, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. I mean,
I spent the last 2 days thinking about it.
the one thing I've always felt when we've been looking at anything is quite often we'll start to get something and you feel like there's something there and it feels like it sort of runs out of steam.
Yeah.
And maybe you're onto something. And maybe ghosts do feed off of that energy, that adrenaline type thing that you create when you're out there, and maybe if that doesn't go on long enough, so perhaps when you're investigating, if that adrenaline starts to die off, that's why you don't get anything else, because it drifts away. I don't know. It's interesting.
If you look at this, I mean, there's plenty of investigators out there that I've seen. I've done it myself. I've said, when I've been calling out, I said, if you need energy, you can always use mine.
Yeah. You
can take some of my energy.
Yeah.
To use it to manifest yourself. Battery drains on cameras and equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good point.
It's just,
yeah. It's a good point. I don't know. It's an interesting case, and I'm inclined to believe that the people that you see on that one, the girls, the mother, genuine people, I feel. And I think maybe there was just, I know it sounds sceptical, but I think maybe there's something there to start with, you know? Whether there was some faking going on after that, I don't know. Maybe like you said, people see an opportunity maybe to make a little bit of money out of it. And it's funny, I don't know. I'm on the fence, I suppose, with this.
One of the things that they accused the girl of faking of is the voice that she did.
I've heard the voice.
Yeah. Creepy, right?
She doesn't sound like...
No.
Doesn't sound like a young girl's voice. And
no.
I mean, if you've ever heard it, I have heard it on there's a documentary that you can go and listen to it. It certainly sounds weird.
Yeah. They did try and debunk it.
Yeah.
So they got her to drink water and hold it in her mouth and see if the voice come through. Apparently the voice come through of the guy Bill, who told them, and it's just communication, told them how he died and all that kind of stuff, apparently.
I don't know. Like you say,
got your brain going, though, isn't it?
The only thing I always think of these things is it's so hard as time goes by to prove or disprove any of it.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
All we've got is the reports from back then. Anyone can go and look at those reports. The police reports were filed. I've seen copies of that on the documentaries. But is it enough to prove it? Is it enough to say this was 100% a genuine thing?
So here's the thing. Is it me, you, and the majority of this community and the rest of this country and the rest of this world are never really going to know exactly what actually happened in there?
Well, no. The only people who really know are those girls and their mum, and other people know what they experienced.
In my personal opinion, I do believe that place was haunted by Bill.
Yeah.
And possibly the girl tapped into some sort of kind of subconscious psychokinetic kind of energy and then charged that house up so much that the ghost of Bill could properly manifest itself.
Yeah.
And show.
It's an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory. How can we prove it?
Unfortunately, we're never going to be able to prove it.
Maybe I could go through puberty just for the sake of the TV. Unfortunately. So that's not going to happen.
I mean, we're on the wrong scale now. We're both gone bald.
Exactly.
Gone grey, so.
Why don't ghosts manifest themselves to old bald men? Because they don't seem to, want to.
No.
Then I haven't got a lot of energy either.
No, some days I haven't either. But, no, it's just a really interesting subject. And
it's an interesting thought. Like you say, we can't prove it one way or the other. That's the thing.
the only people that are ever going to know are the people that are there that witnessed it.
It'd be nice for someone to come forward who's having an experience now that we could go and look at ourselves, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure there's
must be people out there.
plenty of them. I mean, there's plenty of different paranormal poltergeist cases out there.
Mm.
I just chose that one because
For me, I'd love to get involved and just go and see something that's real and now,
yeah,
and just because I think it gives you the only way you can 100% believe is if you 100% experience it.
yeah,
You know, listening to other people's stories about it, no matter how sincere they are, no matter how much they believe, until you've seen it for yourself with your own eyes or experienced it yourself and had those feelings yourself, you can't really 100% believe, can you?
No.
So
it's always, like I said, when I started this, I was a bit neutral, but I generally believe in poltergeist activity.
yeah.
I also believe that it could be attached to just an individual.
Hmm.
Or centered around a certain individual.
So I think, for me, to sum it up, poltergeists, yeah, I think they're real. I'm not 100% certain what they are. I think they're attached to a person rather than a building. That's still my feeling. The Enfield case that we've talked about, I think is a really interesting case to look at. If this is your bag and you like this type of thing, it's a really good one to go and take a look at. Look at the documentaries that have been done. Make your own decision. But for me, I'm a believer that poltergeists are real. I'm just not certain what they are.
Yeah,
What about you?
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly the same, but I believe in poltergeist activity. Excuse me.
Don't die, Dave.
No.
If you do, though, don't become a poltergeist.
No, I won't become a poltergeist. No, but I'm exactly the same. I don't necessarily know what poltergeists are, what causes them, whichever. But I do believe in poltergeist activity. There's so many reports of poltergeist activity out there.
Yeah.
So many reports. And like we said at the beginning, there is a difference between poltergeist activity and hauntings. Hauntings are more directed at a place and a location.
Yeah.
Where poltergeists are
more to the person.
Yeah.
So. Okay. I think you summed that up quite nicely.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I actually quite enjoyed that. It was an interesting chat.
A good chat. Yeah.
So, on that note, I hope everybody enjoyed this podcast this week. It was a bit nerve-wracking at the start of it. I mean, it was different when we were getting to know each other, and then we got into the actual real serious stuff.
Yeah.
It was a bit nerve-wracking, but I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Please take care.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, please. And goodbye.